Hello Year 6 and welcome to Tuesday's maths lesson. So yesterday with Miss White you went through how to convert between fractions and percentages. I'm going to start by doing a really quick recap of that, and then we're going to include decimals into the mix as well so that we can find equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages. So this is what you looked at yesterday with Miss White. These are 100 squares. And we use 100 squares to show this really easily because the word percent means out of 100. So once you've got a fraction out of 100, you've got the percentage. It's just the same. So let's have a little go with these two examples. So I've got 100 square, which means there's 100 there. If I'm going to write a fraction, the bottom number of my fraction is always how many are there in the total, in the whole. So there's 100 in the whole because it's 100 square. How many are shaded, or how many have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 strip, another 10 strip, 20. So the fraction is 20 over 100, or 20. This line means out of 100. 20 out of 100. If I want to write it as a percentage, 20 out of 100. Okay, 20%. So when your fraction's got 100 at the bottom, it can just transfer straight into percentages. This part out of 100 and this part mean the same thing. Let's look at this one. So again, it's 100 squares. The bottom number of my fraction, the denominator is 100. That's how many in the whole. And then I need to look at how many I've got shaded. I know these are strips of 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. So I've got 74 out of 100. As a percentage, that's going to be written as 74%. Okay, so hopefully you picked up that yesterday and you were fine with it. That's a quick recap. We're going to need it again today, but we're going to add in decimals. So have a look at this decimal here. I have got 0.27. I want you to think, what do we know about decimal place value? Okay, if I think of a place value grid, I've got thousands, then I've got hundreds, then I've got tens, and then I've got ones. Okay, then I've got my decimal point. But what are the columns after the decimal point? Can you remember? Straight after the decimal point comes tenths. I don't really know why I'm trying to write in this pen because I could just write it in this. Oh, how I have missed trying to write on the board in these virtual lessons. So tenths, and then hundredths. And then if we went on, we'd have thousandths. So this number, 0.27, has 2 tenths and 7 hundredths. Now, I can think about how I can write these as a fraction. So 2 tenths could be written as 2 over 10. 7 hundredths could be written as 7 over 100. But because I've got both of these numbers, it's actually the same as saying 27 hundredths. Okay, so these are 2 tenths, yeah, but all together I've got 27 hundredths. Okay. 27 hundredths. So if I think about what that looks like as a fraction, 27 hundredths means 27 out of 100. That's what it's going to look like as a fraction. And what's it going to look like as a percentage? It's out of 100. So it's going to look like 27%. Okay, so 0.27 equals 27 hundredths equals 27%. Let's look at another example. Thinking then of our decimal place value again, I've got 3 in the tenths column, 3 tenths, and then I've got no hundredths. Okay, so 3 tenths. 0.3 I can say is 3 tenths. That makes it really easy to hear what it is as a fraction. So let's do the whole thing. 0.3, I can put that 0 but I don't need it, equals 3 tenths. Let's think about what that would look like. Now, as a percentage, how will I do this? I can't write 3% because it's not 3 out of 100. It's 3 out of 10. So first I need to work out what it would be out of 100 by finding an equivalent fraction. This is like what we did last week, and it's like what Miss White showed you yesterday. So I want my denominator to be 100. Currently it's 10. I have to think, what do I times by to get from 10 to 100? Times 10. Always do the same to the top and the bottom. So I'm going to times my numerator by 10 as well, and I will get 30. Now my fraction's out of 100, I can write it as a percentage. 30 out of 100 equals 30%. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Okay, this is a comparison table then. So I've got a decimal, a fraction, a percentage. That first one there, 0.27. My 27 is ending in the hundreds column. So we can call it 27 hundredths. Once I've got it as a hundredths, I can write percentages. So have a little go. If you're feeling confident, pause the video, try and fill in the blanks of that table before I explain it. If you're not feeling confident, just wait and listen, I'll talk you through it. Okay, so 27 hundredths, I've now got to write that as a percentage. It's out of 100, so we're cool. I'm going to transfer it straight to percentages, 27%. Let's move on. 0.6, 6 is in the tenths position. So another way of saying this might be 6 tenths. I can visualize what that is as a fraction, 6 tenths. That's fine. Now my percentage, I need to do something else. I need to make that fraction out of 100 before I can easily do my percentage. So I'll just go ahead and convert it in here. Okay, I want to turn my denominator into 100. I'm going to multiply by 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. And I'm going to do the same to the top and the bottom. So 6 times 10 is 60. Now my fraction reads 60 over 100. I'm able to write it as a percentage. 60 out of 100 is 60%. The last one then, I've got no tenths and I've got 6 in the hundredths position. So how will I say that? 6 hundredths. How will I write that as a fraction? 6 hundredths. 6 out of 100. Now I need to check. Is my fraction out of 100? Yes. So I can convert that straight to percentage without worrying. 6 out of 100 is 6%. Well done if you had a little go at that and got them right. Don't worry if you're still not really sure. Once you come to your independent activities, there's going to be easier and harder as always. And remember, you can come to today's team meeting at 12:10 if you struggle once you get started. Let's do a couple more questions together before I send you off. So we've got another 100 square. Okay, and we're going to write an equivalent fraction, decimal and percentage for this 100 square. So the easiest thing to do first will be the fraction, because I know how many squares I've got in my whole and I know how many squares I've got shaded in. So I'm not going to go ahead and count all of these because it's 100 square. So how many in the whole? 100. That's my denominator. Now remember, your numerator, your top number of the fraction, is how many you've got out of that whole, or in this case, how many are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 100. Okay? 8 hundredths, 8 out of 100. Think how you can say it differently, because the different ways of saying it help you out. If I say 8 out of 100, I can see easily that that's going to be 8%, because I remember that percent means out of 100. But if I say it as 8 hundredths, it can help me with my decimal. I'm thinking, where's the hundredths position? And in that hundredths position, I'm going to put my 8. So I've got 8 hundredths. I hope that makes sense. This is going to get a little bit slightly trickier, but it's the same thing. So we're going to use our greater than and less than symbols now. Let's remember that these have meaning. So this means less than, and this means greater than. We've talked about the crocodiles. You know, 6G know at least, I hate the crocodiles. Yes, it can help us, we can eat the bigger number, but actually these symbols have meaning on their own. So we shouldn't think about them as being able to flip over, because when we get trickier questions where the symbol is set, we can't flip them, we're stuck with them. So we need to understand that they have meaning, just like this symbol means equals. Okay, they have their own meaning. So now I've got to try and put these in. I can't compare them without them all being the same. So if I take 0.36 and 40%, I need to either make them both decimals or make them both percentages so that I can see which one is bigger. I'm going to do that one with you, and then you can pause and have a go if you're feeling confident. So 0.36 or 36 hundredths. Remember, we end in the hundredths column, so we can read the number as 36 hundredths. 36 hundredths means 36 out of 100, which means 36%. Is 36% less than or greater than 40? It's less than, so I'm going to use my less than symbol. Pause me here to go and have a go. Okay, convert them both to the same thing, either both decimals, both fractions, both percentages, doesn't really matter, and then put your greater than, less than, or equals in and come back. Okay, so some of those were harder than others, but these should be the answers that you've got. 7 tenths would be, I could write like, oh, not like that, with 7 in the tenths position, and I can see that having a 7 in the tenths position is worth more than having a 7 in the hundredths position. This one here, 0.4, I could write it as 4 tenths. And then to get it to a percentage, I'd have to make it out of 100. To go from 10 to 100, I'm timesing by 10. So 40 out of 100, so 40%. I can see 40% is greater than 25%. Okay, this one here. Now, it depends if you know that a quarter is 0.25. If you know that a quarter is 0.25, that becomes apparent immediately. Otherwise, you could have worked it out by doing your fractions. Let's look at one last thing together. Okay, have a go. Pause me and have a go. Match the fraction to the equivalent percentage and decimal. Remember, you have to work them out into the same thing. So all fractions, all percentages, or all decimals. I'm going to do one with you really quickly. So to find out what 3/5 would be as a percentage, I'm going to convert it into a fraction over 100. That's very often always going to be the best thing to do. I'm going to be timesing by 20, so I'm going to times the top by 20. 60 over 100. I can see that's the same as 60%, and that gets me started. This is a bit challenging. If you want to have a go and challenge yourself, then do. If not, you can go ahead and crack on with the independent activities. There's easier, there's harder, there's challenge. If you want to try this challenge before anything else, pause me and then I will reveal the answers before I go. Thank you for joining the lesson. Okay, there are your answers to your challenge, and super well done. If you got those right, you probably want to try the challenge in the activity today. Thanks for joining the lesson, and remember to come and see me at 12:10 if you need support.